Hello, Spark. We are popping in with some information. Information is probably not the right word. Just a conversation, an invitation for you to explore. And around the topic this month, so we are in the end of September 2021, we're exploring joy. Exploring what it means to lean into joy, what it means to prioritize joy as a family, and how we can even evaluate some areas where we are prohibitive or prohibiting joy in our lives. So the first thing I want to lean into is just talking about, and Mike and I are going to give our example as I encourage you to work through this with your partner as well, to go through the same practice, the same question, and then we have a couple of tips afterwards.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in because you were talking about joy and what could prohibit it and impact it. It's kind of like a no-brainer, right? Like we want more joy in our life. But I mean, there's really practical applications to this for our relationship. And so wanting more joy is ultimately, or making room for more joy, will improve the relationship as well. Yes. Which I know you didn't.
Yes.
You said that. Stop. All right, so go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's why we're talking about this, right? We're talking about this because when I'm a bum, it impacts our relationship. When you're ho-hummy,
yeah,
it impacts our relationship.
It's a real drag for everybody. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that a little bit. So we're going to share our answers to this. I also encourage you to pause, work through this with your partner, and go through it too. So the first, I guess the main question here is, how have you noticed when your joy impacts our relationship, or my joy impacts the relationship, and or lack thereof?
Yeah. Well, it's always easier as a human to see the impact of other people's faults than the impact of our own. Okay, so it's going to be way easier for me to identify areas that you haven't had joy, although I feel like that's not really fair. But it's good in a relationship to be really open. Like, we recognize that. And I'm like, open when you tell me a perspective I'm missing, and even though it like sucks, I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right.
All right, come on, lay it on me.
All right, so I actually don't have one for you like specifically, but I will say this. I can tell, like, if we're like in a good place as a family, we're vibing, we're connecting, we're communicating, and then something happens, whatever, that knocks Chelsea off of that vibe. It's just like, oh shit, well, it's going to get rocky, like for the next however long. And so, I mean, because the kids will respond to that, not directly, but like they'll just start acting out and having different kinds of behaviors for, and then I feel like in our relationship, everything I say that comes out of my mouth, you think is stupid. And so I'm like, well, I'll just shut the fuck up until you're in a better mood. So yeah. Your joy, it's not just you. Like, you're in a family, and it affects everyone. And so, it's not like, I mean, like, I feel like at that point, the next logical thing is to be like, well, how can I be more joyful?
Well, and I want to pause for a second and say that the thing, I think, moms specifically, and you can tell me if you've had this experience, but we sometimes feel unworthy of joy. Like, joy is selfish. Sure. Like, if I am doing things, getting rid of things, adding things to my life just for the sake of adding joy to my life, how selfish I must be. And this is where we really want to flip the script here to say that this is one of the selfless, necessary, giving to your family things you do is prioritize joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And to support what you said, Brené Brown, her early work was about the benefits, the actual practical benefits of some of these emotions or psychological states that we have that we've never really thought of as important. And so joy was one of them. And it does have, I don't know them by heart, but if this is something you're interested in, go check that out, because joy does have a lot of practical benefit for
Yeah.
your health and for your, social relationships, the whole thing.
And we can look for that and link to it
Okay.
with
Yeah.
this video.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds
So I think that's a great, that first conversation is really important to just know this isn't a selfish joy.
Mhm. You do gain from it, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah, so there is self-improvement in it.
But I need you to show up to our family
Mhm.
taken care of and with
Yeah.
joy and with minimal stressors,
Mhm.
because that serves our whole family unit and energy.
Right. And not that a family isn't a safe place to
Yes.
not have joy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But as the adults with the certain level of wisdom we have, right? Like, we know
Kind of a
it's gonna be, everything's gonna be better for everyone if we take care of our own shit and don't
Yeah.
bring it into the pool.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I think I just want to make a quick disclaimer. What we are not saying is to bask yourself in toxic positivity where you just don't make room for grief or you don't make room for
Right.
sadness or anger. These are all really important aspects and important for us to learn how to navigate with our families and to model for our kids.
Mhm.
So not telling you to disregard those or to feel any shame about those.
Mhm.
But I think this invitation, and we're about to go through 3 tips to help you lean into this. This invitation is to know yourself better, know
Mhm.
your partner better, be clearer, more clear on your family values and goals so that you know what to prioritize and you know what maybe is sucking the life and joy out of you that isn't worthy of taking that energy from you and your family.
Absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of times the stuff that steals our joy really isn't worth our time. It's stuff we've gotten caught up in and we've gotten attached to the idea that we need to be entangled with it. But a lot of stuff we don't have to carry. And there's probably some skill in learning how to let it go. But for sure, like there's a lot of joy in letting shit go that you don't need. So.
Said by Mike Skaggs. Okay, so let's get into just a couple of tips, some ways that people can be kind of piecing this out and figuring it out for them and their families. The first thing that we have is, and I want you to get into why this is like a life hack, but savoring a joyful moment. I called this repurposing content or repurposing an experience.
Right. Yeah, so there's 2 things I want to say. Something I had mentioned earlier.
Okay.
But then this other piece as well. It's like some sort of proverb or something, right? But it's just a wisdom little witty thing. It says that joy shared is doubled, and grief shared is halved. And so one piece I feel like they're missing is that you could get into some negative emotions like, I don't know, anger shared is super... multiplied. Yeah, so I mean, like, but there is really something valuable in, like, you're sharing a joy with someone else, then they get to enter into that joy. And then even if you're, like, just following that same line of thought, later in the day, you're sharing that joy with the evening of the day, Chelsea, the version of you later in the day. Like, whatever you want to do, to share that with your family or with anyone is not only going to help you revisit it and reflect on it, and that really does, I mean, that really brings those positive chemicals and things released in the brain. And all that. So this is the part you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and this is where I wanted to say, talk nerdy to me, baby.
So, Chelsea was talking about savoring joy. The word that came to mind, I was just thinking about different words that mean to savor, to sit with, ruminate. Ruminate, the most commonly currently used use of that word is usually the rumination on negative thoughts. In the mental health.
Don't ruminate on that negative situation or something.
Yeah. And some people do struggle with ruminating on things they don't want to, like intrusive thoughts that stay. And so when you choose to find ways to ruminate in joy, then actually what that does is you're sitting with it, you're making space for it, inviting it, you're staying in that state. Physiologically, your body is changing and there's healthy things happening in there. In your brain, the longer you stay there, the more that you build neurons, which is actually just physiological support for future joy. So being in that place of joy and just ruminating in it, inviting it, sharing it, finding more opportunities to enter into it is only going to improve your life and the life of those around you.
So good. So it's almost like you can kind of train your brain to be more responsive, more engaged, more immersed in joyful opportunities or opportunities to have joy.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it, for sure.
Okay, thank you for that. The second thing, so this is just a practice for you and your partner, so maybe separate and then together, is to recognize things that can be taken less seriously and can be more fun. Chances are there's something in your life, there's something in your day-to-day or in your home or whatnot that for some reason you think is super serious. And maybe it has, it has weight, it has value. But I'm guessing there's something that you can kind of exhale a little bit and take less seriously and make more fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oops, I wasn't talking to you, Siri.
That's a tough one because I do feel like the stuff that you've challenged me on, and said, can we lighten up about this? Yeah, can we just have more fun? And usually it feels heavy to me for a reason, something that's important to me. But oftentimes when I've gone in and self-reflected and been, I don't know, just sort of like face the music or just straight up with myself, like, is this really important or am I just being defensive because I feel, embarrassed? And so there's a lot of times I can let it go. I'm like, that's actually not important to be thinking about right now. We literally can be having fun. We could act like dinosaurs building puzzles or whatever, fun is at that moment. And so that is hard. Like, it's not an immediate thing. All this stuff is a little bit, you have to apply. You have to apply yourself and find it. But it always makes it better.
Yeah.
Right?
And I have a similar experience where I feel like there are things that you're like, Chelsea, this isn't a big deal. And I'm like, but do you know what it means for me if I let go of control of this?
Yeah.
It might have happened once or twice, so you can move on. We can move on, you guys.
A day. So.
Okay, and so I want to keep this under 15 minutes.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You said 5.
I did.
Okay.
It's been good. It's been rich.
Okay.
The last thing that we want to challenge you to do, and I'll pop this into our group too, is to have a conversation about what things might be prohibiting your family goals around joy. So that kind of goes with the one that we just mentioned. But I think this is where really rich conversation comes in. Here's where we want to go as a family. Here's what makes us happy. Here are the things or examples of joy. And here are, maybe our truths, our realities, our stressors, the things that make up our family and our life right now. And is there a disconnect? Are there some things that maybe you need to start the process of working out of your life? Are there some things that maybe you need to start the process of adding into your life? Things that align with the goals that you have around a joyful life for your family.
Yeah. And I think for me, one of the biggest joy killers is stress, like an overload of stress. There's a certain amount of stress that in our lives that's always good. And it strengthens us, it hones our abilities. But if you get overloaded and it's past your capacity, then that just tears down your joy and so it's good to have that imbalance. I know, like, that's so hard, especially for, like, Americans and our, our driven...
Achievement culture.
Yeah, and like, I get it, I feel it. It is a challenge, it sure is.
Yeah. It's good. For me, it's comparisons. I just want to put that out there. Like, sometimes I have to set really strong boundaries around places where I might feel tempted to compare myself, our marriage, our home, our kids, my business, these things to others. And I have to draw a boundary and remove that because it's killing my joy. Yeah. So I just wanted to give that another example.
Yeah.
Do you have any last conclusive thoughts?
It's your life. Make it good.
Okay. I like it. All right. We are talking about joy. Next month we're going to get into holidays and how to prioritize, how to communicate and get on the same team for the holidays. So, rooting for you and your partner, rooting for your kids, and we will chat later.